See, what's funny is that was one of the ones that like never really registered for me. It was always a Chad Kroeger one, and it was always the Snow Patrol one for
Ooh, Snow
Spider-Man
Patrol's
3.
good.
Yeah.
Vindicated. I am
selfish. I am wrong.
Oh, it's such a good song.
Yeah.
Is that Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2?
That's Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Man, it's so good.
Curry, we just went live.
You're good, dude. We were talking about Creed and Nickelback, and now we're late.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how Creed is
coming
Nickelback
back.
Dude, I love Creed. I don't care. We're live. I'll say it. I don't care.
Dude, careful.
We'll do it live.
It really is. It really is so funny. It never gets old.
I know. It's so good.
I'll do it live.
Oh no. Curry said I love both unironically.
Listen, I will admit to at least being fond of Creed, not Nickelback. I can't go there. I'm sorry, buddy.
What's it called? What's the one from? Hey, Curry, you're in the chats. Maybe you can help me out. What's the Chad Kroeger song from Spider-Man 1 called? Because
Spider-Man.
No. They say that a hero can save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait. Dude, that song?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. That's a pretty good song.
Yeah, right, dude. That song's sick. Go back and watch that music video, dude. They're playing on top of like a skyscraper. Oh, get out of town.
Automatic win if you're playing a song on top of a skyscraper. I mean,
true. It is.
At some point, every band has to have that music video, right?
For sure.
Yeah, basically.
I'm kind of bummed that y'all can't see this at all, like ever. But I have this whole great setup on top of my piano right now. Like, bunch of movie stuff and toys and stuff.
Nice.
But you can't see it. I feel like you should be able to, but you can't.
All right. Well, first time with all three of us for a little bit. Feel like, well, no.
Just like last week.
Just like last week.
It's been like 7 days.
Yeah, it's been forever.
So many.
We're
long.
making up for all the times that we missed.
Like, last week was the first time in a while.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
But yeah.
How y'all been doing?
Good. Watching a lot of movies the last few days.
Sorry. Curry said it sounds like you said a bunch of booby stuff and not a bunch of movie stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, I heard the same thing.
Got a bunch of booby stuff on my piano. Wish you guys could see it.
All right, Michael.
Oh man.
Oh God. That's so funny.
Well, my what are you watching is going to be exactly one movie. So,
really,
yeah,
pretty much me too. Well, the movie we're watching tonight or talking about tonight, and then Severance. Severance. Entourage.
I still haven't started season 2 of Severance, but I'm hyped to watch it.
That's all right.
It's just the one episode, right?
Yep, just the one.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're good, but get on it.
Yeah, I need to. Well, since you guys have only watched one movie in the last week, like, come on now, guys. I watched. Let's see. So, Mac Miller had there was an album that he made, I think in like 2014, and he debuted it at I'm blanking on the name. Tyler the Creator had this like big music festival, and he debuted the album there, but he specifically wanted to release the album after he passed away. So and like, you know, if you don't know the story of Mac Miller, like he died unexpectedly, and so it's kind of crazy that like we're like already getting that. Like it's sad that, you know, he passed away at such an early age.
Yeah.
But it's wild that we're like getting that album, and it sounds incredible. It's very like weird and experimental, and the artwork is like very surreal. But I say all of this to say that they surprise dropped a short film that has music from the album incorporated in it. It's like a 15-minute short film on Amazon Prime, and it's really good. It's
Nice.
super weird and like just surreal imagery throughout the entire thing. And it kind of hit really hard, like emotionally, not just because of Mac Miller, but also because this happened the day after David Lynch passed away. And there's like a lot of imagery in the film that like is very much like David Lynch vibes. And I can only get the feeling that like that was 100% intentional. Like knowing like who Mac Miller is and like how much he was like into cinema. I feel like he was probably a David Lynch fan. If not, like he probably is, like if I don't know about it, he's probably like talked about him before. And so like watching it, I was like, dang, I feel like David really would have been a huge fan of it, and would have respected it a lot. Not only because of how like weird and experimental it is, but also just the way it respects his direction style and stuff. So that was a fun little animated short. And then I wanted to watch a David Lynch film, just to remember him. So I watched one that I hadn't seen before, which is The Straight Story, and it floored me. Like it is so freaking good. It's a G-rated Disney film directed by David Lynch.
I still don't believe you that this is real.
It shouldn't be real, but it is, and it's amazing. It genuinely is fantastic, and like a lot of people say that like it's his most accessible film, and I agree, but at the same time, like and while it may be like his most like straightforward or most quote unquote conventional, it's still not like a usual drama. There's still a lot of like David Lynch isms in there. You get like all of his dream-like sequences that you would expect in like his other films. You get some of that here. You get a lot of like long pauses between dialogue and just like characters just kind of sitting there, and like a lot of like silence that you'd expect from like a lot of his other work. So like visually and in terms of direction, like it looks and feels just like a David Lynch film. The only thing that makes it different is it's just a regular old drama, no like weird crazy stuff happening. And it's very like realistic dialogue. It doesn't the dialogue doesn't feel like his other films. It's a lot more grounded, but it's still a David Lynch film through and through. So I had a fantastic time watching it. And then I forgot how to pronounce the composer's name, so I'm not gonna
Angelo Badalamenti.
Yes. He scored the film, and that score is phenomenal.
Nice.
It's got like some of the like synthy stuff that you'd hear in Twin Peaks, but most of the album or most of the score is like very like I don't know, like folky, and like has a lot of like banjos and stuff. I don't know. It's a vibe. It's awesome. So I was a big fan of that. And then I rewatched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and back to back. And
The Dark Knight Rises, right?
Not yet. But I just couldn't fit it in before.
I thought there was another reason.
Oh no.
I thought there was, and you wanted to rant about it.
No. I wanted to rant about The Dark Knight because actually, yeah, like I'm glad you mentioned that. The Dark Knight Okay, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises are on Max. The Dark Knight isn't. They have a section on the app that says the Dark Knight trilogy. And the Dark Knight isn't there. And, I'd be like, okay, it's a licensing thing. It hasn't been on a streaming service for weeks, apparently, or maybe even a month. What are you doing?
You do plan on having a Dark Knight in your Dark Knight trilogy.
Very good. That was good. I really do hate that man.
Want to see a magic trick? I'll make this movie disappear.
Wow.
Ta-da.
One last trick.
Oh, man. But seriously, what are you doing, Max? Oh, man, this app sucks now. And it's not just because of that, but like stuff like that happens all the time. And I miss HBO Max. Bring it back.
I think it's just a streaming thing in general, dude. I don't think HBO Max was any stuff disappears on stuff all the time. As far as like we have this, like Harry. How many times has Harry Potter left and come back? Like I feel like it's every year at some point it leaves and then it comes back
between.
Yeah, it's just it's this weird licensing stuff, dude. It's just not that's not going to go away. It's only going to like continue.
I know,
with the streaming era. I mean, it's stupid. Like I that's like I said in our chat. That's why I own all the movies I love. like own them on disc and make sure you're
sick like big Dark Knight trilogy box set. It's dope. I watched it last.
I actually have 2.
Nice.
Both on Blu-ray, actually. Neither of them are on DVD. Hey. You'd be proud. But
Kurt, I was gonna say real quick. Curry said Disney doesn't do this, thankfully, and that's actually not true because they've had a lot of originals that they've made for Disney Plus in the last few years that they've pulled.
Well, they did Willow, and then that's that. Did they pull other originals besides?
Yeah,
Willow?
there was a couple movies and some other original shows.
National Treasure TV show as well.
Oh darn it!
That one's okay.
Darn it to heck.
That was okay.
I was meaning to watch that 4 years from now.
Man.
I tried.
But I mean, for real, if you do like, I mean, I could imagine if you're on that production, that does suck hard though.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like to me, if you're gonna pull original stuff off of your service, you need to release a limited physical media, at least like a really limited thing, just at the very least, so the people involved can prove they did a thing,
right?
Because that sucks. That really does suck. Yeah. But also Willow sucked, but that's beside the point.
Michael, what you been watching?
Like I said, really no movies. Last one I watched before the one we're talking about tonight was Close Encounters, and it was awesome. But then I've been watching Severance. I think I talked about that last week as well, though. So I caught up with that last week. And honestly, this week I haven't watched a ton of things. I have been actually playing a little more video games, believe it or not. I've started playing Ocarina of Time. I'm trying to actually. I've gotten to a certain point like 3 times, and I'm trying to like, okay, this time I'm gonna do it. And I love it. I love that game. I just never finish it. So I'm gonna do that, and then I've also been writing more music. So a lot of my movie time this week has been on music instead, which honestly has been really, really good. So that's what I've been doing.
Nice. My one movie, I watched Twisters over the weekend. Haven't seen Twister, but I watched Twisters.
Wait, I didn't know that. How did you like it?
I thought it was okay. Like I kind of it was a bit more like it was more of an attempt at like seriousness than I was expecting. I kind of wish it was more fun, and not quite as much like I experienced trauma. And all these people died, and now I got to confront all this. And I'm like, no, it's just big tornadoes, guys. Just go chase big tornadoes. Don't worry about it.
Dude, I totally disagree.
Then I have a movie for you.
Get out of here. All right, dude.
It's called Sharknado.
Yeah.
No, that's unwatchable.
Yeah, it is. I was actually of the mind that if you're gonna do a tornado movie, it needs to feel dangerous at times, and it needs to show the consequence of them at times. And I feel like if it's all too much fun, it's a little, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm sensitive about them too, because of how the bad tornadoes that hit just recently up here in Arkansas last year. But like, I was really happy that they did it in a way that was like, okay, like this is not glorifying tornadoes, like chasing them or whatever. Yes, there was a lot of fun in that stuff, but there was also like, whoa, these things are terrifying, like for real. And I liked the balance they struck, and I had a freaking blast watching this movie in the theater.
I guess I just felt like I probably would have preferred more commitment to either direction, because it felt like neither direction really worked for me, where I'm like, I'm having like a decent amount of fun. Like there's sequences where I'm like, that was a good time, that was really well shot. And there are like the dramatic moments where I'm like, okay, that was okay, but like I would have rather it just have been what I'm assuming Twister was more like, of just Bill Paxton having a good old time, or being more like fully dramatic about it. But like the drama and the seriousness of like what the tornadoes left behind in their wake, it felt like it couldn't quite land for me, because they're like, and now we've got to release this liquid up into it to kill the tornado, and we're throwing drones. I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, that's where the awesome comes in. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
By the way, James says, I'm sorry, you're James. Curry says, James wants real movies. Also, James, big wind gust go brrr.
That's true. That's true. Hey, that sounds like a real movie to me. Anyways, that was all I watched.
I don't know. Glenn Powell, I think, was great too. I really like Glenn Powell.
Yeah, he's fantastic. All right, well, I guess let's go ahead and jump into good old Batman. Jump into Gotham.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
No, we're not talking about that. Surprise, we're talking about Love and Thunder.
No.
This is the day I've been waiting for.
Tornadoes.
Oh gosh.
You guys are a fan of goats, right?
No. So Batman.
I won't make the sound. Okay.
Please, no. Yeah, so Batman. We had mentioned before on our Superman stream that we kind of want to, with Superman and Batman, just kind of sporadically throughout the year watch and cover some Batman and Superman movies. And we didn't really have like a set like date or time when we wanted to do those. So it was just kind of what do we want to do this week? And we just kind of landed on doing Batman 89. So that's kind of how that all sparked. But yeah, so this movie is really interesting. I had seen it before, but like on this watch, it was like watching a completely new movie, because I remembered nothing about it except for like little tiny bits and pieces here and there. So I really went into this with like an open mind. And I was trying not to let the Flash kind of dictate how I was going to feel about this movie. So I really just wanted to go into this with an open mind. And I'm glad I did, because I really enjoyed it a lot. But I don't know, I kind of have like a few things that really like hold it back from being as good or as great as I was hoping it would be. Especially with like how much like hype there is around it, how much hype there is around Michael Keaton as Batman, and both of the Tim Burton films. They're just like pretty well regarded and respected by a lot of people. So I was kind of expecting a little more from it, I guess, just based on how people talk about it. But I still had a really good time watching it. Jimmy Jam, let's hear some quick thoughts from you real quick.
Yeah, so I thought that like maybe I had seen it sometime in the past because I know I'd at the very least was like I know I've seen a lot of like bits and pieces here and there. I'm like I bet I really have seen it, but I hadn't logged it before because I was like just in case. And as I was watching it, I was like I definitely have never seen this all the way through. So this tonight was my first night watching it all the way through, and I liked it. I didn't love it like I wanted to. And I was trying to not let the reasons, and I don't really think they are. I was trying to be like, I'm not bringing any of this. Like I've got the Nolan trilogy and the Batman and all these things here, and now I'm going to hold these against this and be like, well, how did this do? Blah blah blah. It's like, well, that was before. That wasn't trying to do what those movies are doing. I didn't even want to fully be like, like, well, in the comics, this or that, and the blah blah blah. Just be like, what is this movie doing? And there's a lot of things that I think it does right, like art direction and production design are obvious. Jack Nicholson as like I only want to like briefly touch on it because I'm sure we're gonna end up spending a good bit of the review talking about these things, but like there are the obvious standouts. But there are things that didn't work for me. I think after all the hype, I'm almost entirely apathetic about Michael Keaton in this. I think he's got a charm to Bruce Wayne, but it feels like Bruce Wayne gets about like 3 scenes to be like to not just like stand there and maybe give a few lines, but like feels like he's got like 3 scenes throughout the whole movie to actually like be a person and be a character. And then as Batman, like it's kind of a meme now. So it feels like it's not like this criticism is coming out of the blue, but I think there's merit to the criticism, which like he can't move his shoulders. He just kind of looks good. And like he and the thing, like Michael Keaton is not a big guy. Like he's kind of short or short-ish. And he's not like really built. And so it kind of makes his proportions in the bat suit look a little funny to me, where they've got like 1/2 inch thick, like cowl and shoulder and all of that. And like, I love that he's got the long ears. My preference for Batman is long ears, but like it looks, because of the shoulder padding and like the thick thing, like it looks like a kid wearing his older brother's like football shoulder pads and how like he just, and like
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
I was about to make that
joke. And like when he's running, he can't really bend his arms, so he's just kind of bouncing around. He looks kind of silly to me, and he doesn't look threatening or intimidating. So I don't like. Just the Batman Bruce aspect of the movie really didn't work for me as much. Curry in the comments said, I mean, Bale couldn't move his head in Batman Begins either. And while that is true, he still had so much more mobility overall in that movie. Like he's fighting in that scene. And another issue I have with this, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan as a director in general, even before this. Like I was coming into this being like, I typically don't really like Tim Burton anyways. And in this, like he is having to, like, the direction feels really weird and like stiff during the action scenes, and he's having to like, he's trying his best to edit the action to make it look like Batman can do anything because he is so kind of stiff and cumbersome. And so it's like quick shot of like a fist and like a hand, and like, but it's like he's trying to stitch together movements and make an action scene out of it, because like you just there's almost no scenes of just like it's a fight scene. It's just a good old fashioned fight scene. And so I don't know. I like being in this world. I like the vibe. Drew mentioned to us in the comments before that he felt like it was a lot more tonally consistent than Superman was when we covered that, and I do agree with that. So I did like it, but I to me, I was like, emotionally, I feel really cold about it. And yeah, I don't know. I appreciate that it unlocked the door to like serious comic book movies, but it wasn't one that I ultimately loved.
Yeah, I tend to be along the lines that you guys are as well. For the most part, I do have a couple of things that I'll talk about. I do want to touch on something really quick. James, I don't know if you saw, but I made a face when you said you're not much of a Tim Burton fan. I thought I was going to be the only one on here because I historically don't like Tim Burton movies generally.
Oh, wow.
He very much has a vibe, and if that vibe doesn't vibe with you, you're probably not gonna like. It's just a very he's one of those directors that is very much like this guy's movies are this way, like most of the time.
Big Fish is like his one that I'm like, I like Big Fish.
You're taking the words out of my mouth. Big Fish is great, and other than that,
I haven't seen it, but speaking, I'm a huge Beetlejuice fan.
You would like Big Fish. I think you would really like Big Fish. But I thought I was gonna be the only one on here, like I am with Wes Anderson. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like Tim Burton. Don't.
All right, go away about the list.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
but he just has a very specific way about his movies, and if you love him, you love him, and if you don't, you really, I just don't vibe with him at all. And so him doing a Batman movie doesn't entirely work for me, but there's some good stuff in here. I really did like it quite a bit. So I also tried my very best to not view it through. Listen, guys, we've been watching Batman movies of a much more serious tone for over 20 years now. Like, Batman Begins came out in 2004. So, right? 2005. Yeah. So about 20 years. And every Batman iteration since then has been much more serious and, tonally darker. And there's comedy. There's always a bit of comedy. It kind of varies, but usually it's much more serious in tone, not goofy like at all. And so I knew that this was going to hit different, and I was prepared for it, but it's Tim Burton doing a Batman movie. So it was probably not going to completely jive with me. So ultimately I tried to not view it too much through those lenses, but it was really difficult because I do think that I'm not always the kind of guy that's like, I want my superhero movies to be realistic and to be dark and gritty and really, like, that's not me, but I do kind of feel that way with Batman. There's some, like, it just works really well when Batman is more serious and dark and gritty and whatever. And so
this guy's gonna hate Batman Forever and Batman Forever.
I think I'm going to, but I don't. So naturally going into this, I really did like a good bit of it. I'm going to be the Keaton defender on here. I thought Keaton was really good as Bruce Wayne specifically. I felt, there's a people talk about, Bruce Wayne is really the mask. Batman is who he really is, and whatever. Bruce Wayne is the mask, and I really felt that with him in this movie. I felt like he was really covering up who he was, who his real personality was, really well with Bruce Wayne. I felt that a lot with him, and it was all about how he did it to me. It was all about Michael Keaton and how he portrayed it, and I thought he did a great job with it. It felt really, he felt charming. And not overly douchey, like, Bruce Wayne tends to need to put that facade on a little bit. I like that he didn't have to do that. And even, like, I love that dinner scene where they're trying to have a date at that ridiculous long table, and he, like, walks the salt over to her, and it's like, that wall breaks down really quick and it's like, yeah, this is stupid, let's go. Like, I liked that scene a whole lot. I really liked Kim Basinger as what's her name again in the movie? Vicky, I liked her a lot. I totally agree on the Batman stuff. When he's wearing the suit and the way the action is filmed, it's a little silly. It's hard to take seriously. It just feels like, man, he can do anything with a zip line, like anything. There's a lot of zip lining going on here, and he's really good at it. But
he's good at getting out of fights.
Yeah, he really is. And then he's just like the very and like even at the beginning, like the first time you see him, it's supposed to be intimidating, but when he does the like, it's supposed to be intimidating, but it's just not. So I don't know. As Batman, and it's probably a combination. It's not so much Michael Keaton. I actually like his voice a lot.
See, interesting, because that was one of my like, I feel like there's no real Batman voice. It's just like, what are you? I'm Batman.
Well, I like it's different. It's different enough to me, but it's not. I'm Batman. Like it's not as extreme as Christian Bale, which I don't hate, but it's always been a little. It's a meme at this point.
Yeah, I love Christian Bale's growl though, dude. That scared the crap out of me.
Swear to me, like, oh yeah, it's good. I like
myself.
it. Yeah. But I like his Batman voice. It's not putting on too much, but it's enough. It's literally just the physicality and the suit and the way Tim Burton filmed things. It just didn't. The Batman stuff was kind of funny to me. Jack Nicholson was great. Again, not how I typically prefer my Joker to be. I know, like, probably I'm not a comic person. Like, I haven't read the comics, so I imagine it might be a little more tonally accurate with the comics. I don't know, but I like the direction they've taken the Joker since Heath Ledger took over and did his thing, and then several great people doing the Joker since then. I think I like the different vibes that we've gotten there. And so, like, there were parts of this that I thought were like overly goofy, just like with Lex Luthor. However, it worked better with the Joker just because of what he is. And Jack Nicholson is just so good at committing to that, you know. I do really like he had some lines. He had me laughing so hard multiple times. There are some lines that he had that I was like,
yeah, there's one whenever Vicky is like, "You're insane. Really? I thought I was a Pisces."
Yeah. That me cracking up.
I'm trying to find one.
The permanent smile is on his face, and she's like, "You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking?"
Oh, this one. As though we were made for each other. Beauty and the Beast. Of course, if anyone else calls you Beast, I'll rip their lungs out. Like, he just had several lines that were so good. And so he's great. He was great at it. Ultimately, we can talk about specifics more as we go through. I'll end with just I really liked more of it than I thought. I actually thought that I was going to be cooler on this one than I was, and it turns out I did enjoy a good bit of it. I did think that overall, Act 1, 2, and 3 as a movie was more. It flowed better than Superman did. But I think James brought up earlier, I don't think it had the high heights of Act 1 of Superman. I agree with that. But Act 2 wasn't a slog like Act 2 of Superman was. And so, in fact, I actually thought some of my favorite stuff was in Act 2 with Bruce. And so we can get into all that. But I like this movie. Not my favorite thing. I'm really excited to get into some of the later ones. But
I'm so excited for Batman Forever.
I'm really looking forward to it. Honestly.
Yeah.
I guess let's read a couple of comments real quick, because we got a lot of comments running through. Jimmy Jam, if you want to read a couple real quick.
So I'll grab a couple that have been going on here. Curry said, I agree on the fights being underwhelming. I think Returns does a better job there. But given it's the horniest movie ever made, no thanks. Return is decent, but grossly overrated. And then Slasher Fred pointed out something that was really cool. He said, in the sequel, Batman Returns, Batman enters his Batcave through his Iron Maiden. And in the classic silent movie, the character's father is executed through an Iron Maiden. The silent movie is The Man Who Laughs, which is where a very it's an old black and white movie with a famous like smiling image that kind of inspired the Joker. And so there's a graphic novel called The Man Who Laughs also, and it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curry says, I actually think Keaton is all over the place as Bruce, but when he's in the cowl, he's great, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm reversed on that. Like I think the script is super thin when it comes to Bruce. But I think Keaton provides his own kind of natural charisma that he has to like inherent to himself to it. But I think he is very unintimidating under the cowl.
Yeah. Also, Curry says never show Michael Batman 66. And Curry, I've seen it, and I need some more shark repellent. That's all I gotta say.
That's a fun.
I love good old classics Batman.
Listen, I got nothing against. I love me some Adam West Batman.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Just I thought dynamite. I will always love old Adam West Batman. There will never be hatred for that, but it is goofy as all get out.
It is goofy, but I'm a fan.
I love it.
I can't, James. I don't remember if you read this one. Ryan said Kevin Conroy bat voice supremacy, and
I'm playing through the Arkham series, dude, and I'm watching Batman the Animated Series, and like when I read when I'm reading the comics, it's Kevin Conroy's voice that's in my head.
Yeah,
like
sometimes
those fans are annoying where they're like, really, we all know that so and so, but like to me, I'm like, yeah, Kevin Conroy is like, he's the Batman for me.
Same, I agree. And then Illuminated Pro said that Batman 89 is the best one. They love the Joker, or they love this Joker and the art direction. I'm glad that it's your favorite. It's not mine.
Great way to say that.
But I'm within this, I guess, to talk about a couple of things more specifically. Michael, you had mentioned like the serious and gritty tone and later movies. I actually really, of all the complaints, I actually really love the tone of this movie because I thought it was a good blend of like comic bookiness with a darker feel. Because like, and this kind of got brought up on the Mad Max episodes where like there's maybe some weird little part of my brain that like sees it when you juxtapose two things together, that it heightens the both of them. Like in Mad Max, like the weird leather BDSM being worn on these
the
like
assless chaps. You already know.
Yeah,
you gotta say it.
On these like absolute savage lunatics who are like brutalizing people. Like there's something like Lord Humongous showing his butt cheeks the whole movie.
Yes, sir.
Also being an absolutely like terrifying, like just like lunatic who would like rip your head. Like there's just something about,
Man,
and like
I gotta go watch those again.
and like especially with the original one where there's a lot more of like these people roll into towns and just like F up the local people. Like they're sadistic. And I just kind of found like the weird, outlandish outfits and like their leaders called Toe Cutter, like all of that being juxtaposed with like the sadistic stuff they were doing. It was almost like a Clockwork Orange effect on me, where like it's just those two things going together made it all worse. And that I kind of felt the same here, where like there was sometimes I'm like, it's not that he's doing anything worse than Heath Ledger's Joker ever would have done. And Heath Ledger's Joker, like, he's still my favorite Joker, all that. Like, I'm also just of that general. Like, The Dark Knight was like what I saw, at 12 years old. So, like, that movie was everything for me.
Yeah.
But there were moments where, to me, Jack Nicholson felt like the Joker at the most sadistic I've seen him on screen. Like, and I think it's because of just the, like, he's jumping around like just making these goofy noises. He's got like a gun with like a 3-foot barrel in his pants, and like, but there was like the scene after he electrocutes the guy to death and turns him into this charred corpse, and he's just like, "I'm glad you're dead." And he's just like laughing, walking off, and like that was like demented to me. And there's just like whenever he's got like all the stuff that splashes across his face, and he's like, "Oh, I'm melting," like quoting Wizard of Oz, and like, "I'm melting," and
that was great. Yeah,
like his goofiness juxtaposed with like his, like, there's like a gleeful cruelty to like what he was doing, and like the clown music playing over him like shooting the guy like 8 times and so there was like this it was something was really working for me with the way this movie's tone was. Like, I even loved him and when his henchmen show up to the museum and they're blaring Prince while they're like painting all over everything. Like, something about everything to do with the villains in this, I loved it all. I loved the goofy henchmen that they'd like bop their head to Prince and then like gun down citizens like a second later, all in one scene. Like, I don't know.
Rip Bob, man.
Oh, poor Bob, dude. He was so loyal.
Give me a gun. Here you go, boss.
Oh man.
Yeah, like this goes back to ultimately it's gonna, at some point, it's gonna come back to Tim Burton for me. And I do agree. I really liked a lot of the Joker stuff in general. I thought the museum scene was fantastic. It was hilarious and creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to give a shout out, as I try to always do. But Danny Elfman is not my favorite composer. I don't love his scores all the time, but when he hits, he really hits. You got the Spider-Man trilogy, and I mean, those are iconic. And then to me, this
Men in Black too. Men in Black is great. You would love Men in Black. It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, let's cover it.
It's so good.
But I thought overall there's a few times where his music contributes to the goofiness when I thought that it would have been better to go a darker way musically. There's sometimes just like in dark alleyways, but you would have this like kind of goofy music going, kind of like almost John Williams Jawa music. Like a little bit like that, not mysterious, almost more mischievous music going on. It's not creepy enough to me. It's a little bit like, okay, I feel it takes a little bit of the scariness out of what the villains could be to me. Just something every now and then I felt that. Yeah. But
about that kind of stuff worked for me, because like with the villains holding Tommy guns and the old suits and hats, like
I get that. It was just little things like that I didn't like in the score. But man, this Batman theme in general is just so good. And also the Joker stuff, the Joker theme, when it was like kind of clown music, that could have been super dumb and really lame. But the way that he did it freaking worked for me. It was like, okay, make this carnival music, but there needs to be a scariness to it and something off kilter, but also something beautiful to it at the same time. And he kind of made it all work together in this really weird way. And so shout out to Danny Elfman, not always the biggest fan, but he crushed it on this movie.
Yeah. That main theme is all-timer stuff.
Dude, it's so good.
And
like,
it's
it's
James,
so good.
James said in the group chat that you had mentioned Batman the animated series, because it uses the same theme, and there's like so many other like Batman media, like I can't even name them all, that also use Elfman's theme. Like it's just the theme that's been consistent with the character for a long time now. So
Gabe.
yeah. Justice League is probably where Elfman peaked at his lowest. Can't get much lower than that. But yeah, I really love what Elfman did in this score. And I echo a lot of what y'all said about like the tone and the feel.
I want to know your thoughts on like just the feel and Nicholson and Joker and stuff.
I from the moment it started, I'm like, oh man, this is a comic book movie, like an actual comic book movie. The sets are freaking awesome. I love the way Gotham looks.
That first shot of Gotham, like from the harbor, like just you see the city in the spotlights. I was like, all right, we're cooking already.
It's a great shot.
That is what I'm all about. When, like, I mean, look at my background right now. This is Gotham right here, right? That's the kind of vibes.
Graphics. Sorry.
It's Batman the Animated Series.
Get out of here!
Oh man. But that's my kind of Gotham. Like I like being when I watch, especially DC movies, when I watch or like DC comics, I like it feeling like another world. And that's what this Gotham feels like. It doesn't look like New York City. It doesn't look like Chicago. It looks like its own city. And so I was a huge fan of that. I love like the opening with the Gotham police department, like just I can't remember which cop it was. But like I love like just the way that they interact. Like it feels straight out of the comics. And then also like the reporter, like he's trying to like get information about Batman and stuff. I'm into those vibes. And James mentioned earlier that like you weren't a big fan of the Batman voice. Actually, like for all the things that I don't like about Michael Keaton as Batman, which is the suit, the way he was directed, like there are some shots in here where he looks really goofy, and like part of it is because of the costume, but also it's just like, man, you could have shot that a different way and it wouldn't have looked nearly as goofy. But for some reason, Tim Burton was just like, all right, let's do this.
Now make a funny face.
Yeah, like and there's there's some like reveals of his face with like the shadow being removed, and like you just see like hit the white of his eyes and stuff like that, where I'm like, man, that looks goofy. So like I don't know, it's like there's so many vibes where I'm like, man, I'm so into this, but at the same time I'm like hit with stuff where I'm like, I don't like this as much. But I kind of liked Keaton's Batman voice because it doesn't sound like his Bruce Wayne, and to me like he did sound like Batman, but like I just think that as Batman, like he like you said, he wasn't intimidating for me either. Like Batman needs to be an intimidating character because he is a symbol, because he is the Dark Knight, you know? So I don't know, like I'm very like torn on it tonally, because I think while there's some things that are great, I think in some areas it kind of falters a little bit. And then Jack Nicholson as the Joker, I'm a huge fan. I think he's great. I love like just like he's very like serious in the way that he's like, yes, he is sadistic, but I do like that he kind of has fun with it. Like with everything that he's doing, there's like just a sense of enjoyment of what he's doing, and he doesn't just feel like just a stone cold like serial killer or anything like that. Like he's having fun with everything that he's doing, and I think that does add to like, it does add an extra layer to his character of being a villain. He reminds me a lot of the Joker that we get in the animated series. Just like seeing like the massive gun that he has, seeing the the flower that he has on his
spraying
on his
acid.
suit, and spraying the
The
acid.
boxing glove spring thing.
Yes.
I love that kind of stuff.
I'm a big fan. So yeah, like I mean, tonally, there's a lot of stuff that I really like or really love here. I just wish that it would have been like across the board. I wish I could have been like, man, I am a Michael Keaton Batman fan, but I like, at least from this film alone, I can't say that. But and then also like a lot of that has to do with like I think the writing. I think like Michael was mentioning, Act 1, 2, and 3 much more consistent tone, much more consistent than Superman. But I honestly think like the writing here is pretty paper thin. There's not a lot of character development for any of the characters. I feel like, if anything, Joker gets the most character development
by far.
And like, so like that's a little frustrating because it's like Batman. I said, I just watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and I'm not trying to like compare them too much because they're very different films. But if I'm going to, I'm gonna have to compare in the way that they treat Batman and Bruce Wayne as a character, because there is a lot of character development there, even in just the first film with Batman Begins.
Bruce Wayne is phenomenal in Batman Begins, dude.
He really is. Yeah, man,
I want to watch that tonight. Not gonna lie, I really want to.
Dude, please do. But like Bruce Wayne, like he is a character that has so much emotion behind him. Like he has such an emotional backstory, a very tragic one, and I felt nothing when his parents died in this one. Like,
get over it, kid.
I wasn't a fan of that, and like it. I feel like it's not that hard to get that right. We seen Batman versus Superman in an opening sequence. We don't even get like the full origin, and you immediately feel something from the way Snyder films it. It can be something as simple as that. So I don't know. It's just, I'm not saying the new stuff is better. I'm just saying that like
it is.
This is better than a lot of new comic book movies still, in my opinion. This is way better than Love and Thunder.
True. I agree. It's better than Love and Thunder.
But
not what you thought I'd say, is it?
What I'm trying to say is like, I'm not saying that like the newer stuff is better just because it's new. I'm saying that like there's more depth in that aspect. Yeah. And like Batman has already been established for decades now, and like and also this movie came out after Batman Year One. Yeah. So you have all of this established lore and tone and like of who Batman is, and so I feel like for the first origin story, or I mean, like technically, like it's not fully an origin story, but seeing his origin on the big screen for the first time, I was a little underwhelmed. But I don't know, like there's still like things that I really like. And then I was going to mention earlier with Jack Nicholson's Joker. As much as I love his performance and a lot of what they did with the character, there's a few things that I really didn't like. I love Joker when he is kind of like it's like an unreliable narrator. His background, his backstory is left up in the air. It's never consistent. And I think
how I got these scars.
Exactly. But like even in the comics, or even with Batman the animated series, or like The Killing Joke, like he has a backstory, but it's never like
he fell into a vat.
No,
he fell into a vat.
He does fall into a vat, but it's never like this like perfectly like explained, I guess is the way to put it. And so like I wasn't like a huge fan of who he was. Like I didn't really like what they were doing with him before he became the Joker. And then I also think his shift to the Joker was really, really fast for me.
Yeah, I to try to defend it just a little bit. I do wonder though how much at that point in the lore, like how integral to Joker in the comics was the lack of backstory. Because the Killing Joke, I think, is really where they really like nail in that idea of unreliable narrator, and that was 1988. And so this is only a year after that, and the script was probably already, being done and all that. So I'm with you in terms of like, I mean, my favorite idea for the Joker is that we don't know too much about him. He just kind of shows up, and we have to wonder how he got where he is and why he is the way he is. But just, I guess, in 1989, that might have felt maybe there might be a little less weight put on that aspect of his character than the comics and shows and movies and games and stuff have like placed on that part of the character now. But I did kind of feel the same with you in terms of like, it feels like the only real setup they did for why he would now be the way he is because he carries around a lucky deck of cards and he's got a Joker card.
That's funny.
What Gabe said in the comments, Jack Nicholson is never more than one inconvenient afternoon away from becoming the Joker, to be honest.
That's really
so
good.
That's true. Somebody else had put Lark Bark had put Jack Nicholson's performance is iconic. Even if it's a typical Nicholson performance, it's still amazing to watch. I agree that like that man is born to kind of to play the Joker.
Yeah.
But I did kind of feel the same in terms of, he was a typical kind of mob guy. And then the only real link to his eccentricity was he carries around a Joker card.
But
once the transformation happens, I love basically everything about him post transformation, except that he kills the Waynes. I hate that.
That was the other thing.
Okay,
good. I'm glad we're getting into this. I was about to ask, number one, is this a comic book origin thing? Because I mean,
maybe at some point they've told the origin like 8,000 times in the comics, but it is certainly not like mainline origin at all.
And honestly, they could have done it in a way if it was paid off better at the end. I could have been okay with it. But the way that the reveal happened, I was like, oh, okay, shoot, okay. And at the end, it was like so anticlimactic. Like it was.
And Batman was indulging his revenge. He didn't know that Joker was going to grab onto that gargoyle. He straight up punched him off the building.
Yeah, it almost
looked down.
It almost felt like that backstory was like thrown in last second and they didn't adjust to it or something. It was really not cohesive with the movie at all. Because like I was actually at the moment not hating on it. I wasn't hating it until the end, and I saw how it resolved. I was like, okay, then I really hate that choice. That was stupid. Why did they do that only to not really pay it off with anything at all? So I'm glad to know you guys are with me on that. I just thought it was really lame.
So could we talk a little bit more about Bruce, because that kind of connects with an issue I have with Bruce in this, which is Bruce to me is barely a character in this movie. He has no emotional arc. There's no character arc. There's no depth to it. To me, anything I like about Bruce in this is entirely due to like Keaton's just like, he's got a memorable face and he's got like his own like inherent kind of charm to him. But if you were to just read this screenplay, read the lines that fall under Bruce Wayne's name, he's barely a character. And the whole connecting his death or the death of his parents to Jack Napier, to me, was them being like, dude, we just wrote a whole script without any kind of pathos at all. We have got to throw in this last minute reveal to make this personal on some level, because Bruce is a blank slate in our script. Like the closest thing is like the closest scene to him being written like a person with any kind of depth is like when he can't really bring himself to say that he's Batman to her. But like even that was just kind of him reverting to like 80s comedy Keaton, like when he's mouthing after she like and I mouthed I'm Batman for the podcast listeners. But like outside of that, like it feels like he's there to like have conversation, but he's not there to like be a human being or have any kind of emotional depth or have any sort of character arc. And I think something that really hurt this viewing was last year I watched Mask of the Phantasm, and the Bruce Wayne stuff in that movie is awesome. Like his love story he experiences in that movie is great. And one of like my favorite Batman scenes ever. And I can't believe I'm like, man, I've never seen a scene like this in a Batman story. And I wouldn't have expected it from a cartoon movie. But when he like is falling in love with this girl, and then he's like bargaining and negotiating with the grave of his parents, basically being like, I'll donate to charity. I'll still honor your legacy. But I didn't expect this. I didn't expect that I would like actually find somebody that would make me question this, and the guilt he feels for like not making good on the promise he made to his parents' graves and trying to enter a bargaining relationship of like, well, how much do I have to donate? Well, like, I'm like, golly, this scene is incredible. And like, there's no scene like that in this movie. There's no moment where you peel back any layer to Bruce. He's just here. He's in the movie and he's giving lines. And when he's Bruce, to me, he's pretty charming. I love the glasses turtleneck look a lot. But I'm just like, I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I really like Keaton as Bruce. And I think all of it that's there is Keaton and his natural charisma. And there's even a couple of parts, like there's the one part where they're in the cave. He and Vicky are in the cave and they're talking, and you think, okay, this is where we're going to have a character moment finally for Bruce. And he's like, I can't remember the exact line, but it's basically like, I do care, but I have to get back. I have to get to work. And then the scene's over. Like, I have to go to work now. Like, and it was like, okay, like I was really hoping for a little something there, but all right. just like Vicky was.
Yeah.
But like I really get how Vicky's feeling right now.
Like when she's like, why won't you let me in? And he's like, I did. See ya.
Okay. Yeah, like I did, and now I have to go to work. So
yeah.
I on one hand, I feel very conflicted because I do really like Keaton as Bruce Wayne. I think he has a in the same way we look at Bonds, like I love Connery as Bond. He has a vibe. There's something about that charisma. I think Keaton has that. I do. And but it's always better. You can always tell the difference between a bad Bond and Her Majesty's Secret Service. Like there's a depth to that one, and the character is really hit with things that he's never hit with. And this movie, I felt like had chances to do that, and it just like bypassed them every time. And so I'm with you. It's like I like Keaton as the character, but it's so thinly written. He's doing everything he can to make it as enjoyable as possible, and that's why so many people love him as Batman.
And is it Basinger or Bassinger, or how do you? I don't know.
I always heard Basinger, but I don't know if that's right. But
I think the two of them have pretty good chemistry. Like I like them together. The scenes
they
share
100%.
But I actually find what's funny. Like I find her the much more like interesting character of the two.
Yes.
That like she is this person who's got this background, and she kind of like, she is the only person who kind of sees what this young reporter kind of sees in the story. And then I don't know, like
I liked him, by the way.
Yeah, I did too.
Yes, I
like
liked his character. He was fun.
I had a thought like 30 something minutes into this where I'm like, I feel like Bruce Wayne is not much of a character so far, and like it feels like the two of them together are like our actual eyes into this movie. Which was okay to me because I like their dynamic a lot. I just watched I think it was back in November, but I watched the Sweet Smell of Success, which is a 40s kind of reporter noir film. And there's something about that kind of, the reporter who's just running around, got his pencil ready, got his hat on, like in that 40s, but like, I love that. And so I really love the weird anachronistic sense of time in this movie, and like that they're all like 1940s reporters blaring prints and stuff. Like, I love this. And I thought he was fun and funny, and I thought they had a lot of great back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. I really like her a lot as a character, and I really liked. I don't remember the reporter's name, but I really loved him. I just thought he was like it was so funny how he kept trying to like sneak in, asking her out.
Yeah, shoot a shot all the time. And then sometimes it's not even sneak. It's just like, will you marry me? No. Will you buy me lunch?
I'll just eat a light salad or something.
Yeah.
I eat light or whatever. That was funny.
So yeah, I'm with y'all. I was a huge fan of Vicky Vale, and then also the other reporter, like I mentioned before, really fun character. I think honestly, it wasn't really bothering me at first with how they were portraying Bruce Wayne, because in the like first 30 minutes of the film, I feel like they were like doing a really good job of making Bruce Wayne very elusive.
Yeah.
Like they alluded to that with the start when Vicky Vale was like, "Hey, do you know Bruce Wayne?" And he's like, "Nah, who's that?" And then whenever she like does more digging into who he is, the other reporter's like, "Oh, hey, like this is why he's like kind of acting a little weird. Like his parents were like murdered." And I was like, that I found that really interesting, because like Bruce Wayne is always portrayed as this character who like everyone knows like his backstory, because like they are this super wealthy family. And so I was like, huh, like they didn't know that. And so I was like, okay, like,
yeah,
maybe they'll do something interesting there. And it seemed like that's what they were heading towards. And then just somewhere in the middle of the film, they kind of just forgot about that.
Well, there was even another character who mentioned some kid Wayne, or some guy named Wayne. And
yeah,
I was like,
as if you didn't know.
This is really weird that nobody knows Bruce Wayne. Like in any rendition of Batman I've ever seen, Bruce Wayne is widely known.
And I was kind of with Drew in that I was interested and intrigued with it initially, because in reality, like we know Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg, and like outside of that, how often are we like dialed into like the billionaires of the world? How much do we really know? And even of the ones we know, like, can either of y'all tell me like what Jeff Bezos' like childhood backstory was? Because like,
nope,
I doubt. So like, it is interesting because like these comic book worlds do present us as if everybody is aware of like all of these like billionaire people walking around like, oh, you mean so and so? We all know that person. I was like, dude, I know like zippy zap about him. So, so I thought that was an interesting approach, but it ultimately felt like the only reason this approach was taken was for expositional purposes, so that we had a character who didn't know about it who could say, oh, his parents were killed in this alley. And like that's kind of it. It's like it's kind of a perfunctory choice as opposed to like, a kind of thematic one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do want to say something I really liked, and we talked a lot about this last week with Close Encounters, But I really like this movie had a lot of really nice night shots with like fog and steam and like lights going through it. There's something about that I'm just always a sucker for. And this, like the back alley stuff with the steam or smoke or fog or whatever it was, with the lights that are always in the perfect spot. It looked really pretty. And again, I just love how these older movies shot night scenes. They just look so cool. Ugh.
I love how they shot night scenes, and I love also again how often I'm looking at this movie and I'm just thinking this is really cool, and everything I'm seeing was actually within the frame of this camera there. The sets are awesome. There's just a set, like I feel like I can step onto the set and go like, just take a deep breath and smell Gotham. It looks so tactile and real. And like, even when digital extensions are necessary, and I think they're net positive on sets and whatnot. But I also love matte paintings as set extensions.
Yes.
And there's just something that like on these big wide shots of Gotham, like from the harbor and stuff, the first shot of the movie just being that shot of the city from far away, and then it cuts to a shot that like it's an actual set, like a city set with like a train going overhead, and it extends off into like a matte painting backdrop, and that shot at the very beginning is incredible. It's like it's the scene of the guy running around trying to find his taxi, and if you just like look at the way it like that set goes off in the background, it's so cool. Like I love how you just feel like you can step onto this weird world that's like Burton just carved out a new reality and filmed it. And I do love that.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of that. Even the look of like Wayne Manor and the look of especially I think it's not called Ace Chemical in this. It was called like Axis Chemical, I think. The look of that factory is so freaking cool, and I love like just the like weird like curved like look of the buildings. It's just man.
I love the front steps to, I guess, like the courthouse. They're always exiting the courthouse and going down that huge flight of steps. But I love that set, and I love that top down angle that he loves so much. But like where he's looking down at the people, and so you see like the bottom half of the frame is the staircase, and like there's a lot of that in the scene where Joker attacks and like throws the pen into the guy's throat, and he says the pen is truly mightier than the sword.
There's the scene where he's flying around in the bat, what do you call it, the bat plane?
The bat plane, yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I did really I liked it, but I also thought it was silly. But when it went above the clouds and did the bat right in front of the
no, we stand that.
Oh yeah,
that's a comic book panel right there.
It almost felt like
goofy,
DreamWorks like logo in the middle of the movie or something. But
it went so freaking.
No, I did like it, but I also laughed at the same time. That's what I do with Tim Burton a lot of times. I'm like, I like this, but this is silly. But
no, dude, it just goes hard. That's what that is.
Yeah, sure. Also, I also thought it was hilarious when he had his Batmobile like armor itself. It looked really funny when it did. I actually loved this Batmobile.
This Batmobile looks cool.
The way it looks like on its own. Mm-hmm. But when he had it armor itself, I thought it looked really silly. But it's not a big deal. But I
kind of like
genuinely love this Batmobile.
I love shooting like the grapple hook to make corners like he did. Like that's kind of cool to me.
Yeah. I also am a huge fan of just massive like jet engines on the back of cars.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, this is pretty hype.
Yeah. What did y'all think of like Joker's actual plan in this movie?
Not as silly as Lex's plan
Yeah.
In Superman, but still silly, and I don't really like it. But it's better. It fits with the Joker, I guess.
I actually kind of love like the mechanics of it. Like I love like the panic that he puts into people being like, dude, all of your like toiletries that are in your place are potentially like death traps. And I love like seeing the news anchors. You can like they're no longer using product. They've got all their blemishes. Like I thought that was really good. So like,
by the way, sorry, really quick. That scene where the news anchor was like freaking out was really creepy.
Yeah,
they did a great job
stuff
with
that I love.
Yeah, I like that.
I love him hijacking the place, and he's like sitting on his chair with his newspaper, and
yeah,
that kind of Joker stuff is like
that. And then also, I love like whenever he takes over like the news broadcast, and he's like explaining everything. And I love like he has like the pictures of the two bodies of the women that died, and like he has like he animated like mouths like talking over it, and I'm like, that is Joker right there. That's a vibe.
Yeah, and like that's maybe like the best example of like the juxtaposition of like Joker goofiness with absolute like sadistic murder stuff happening like at the same moment. That just makes me go like, ooh, this is working, but like I love that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love like hijacking like just the like the just toiletry product kind of, or like like toothbrush, toothpaste, baby powder, like whatever that kind of thing is, and making people panic and not knowing what they have. My only real issue was it felt like that was a means to a greater plan, and I didn't feel like I was ever really aware of what the greater plan ultimately was.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. It ultimately felt like I liked the idea, but it ultimately didn't feel like it led anywhere, and it felt kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just as outrageously stupid as Lex's plan to make a new West Coast or whatever.
Yeah, it's really funny because like in some ways I've got like inverse thoughts between Superman and this, where like I feel generally apathetic to Bruce and Batman in this movie, and like I'm starstruck and head over heels in love with Christopher Reeve and Superman. I think he's like just this magical being that walked off of a comic book page to me. And I just think Lex Luthor is an obnoxious, like Three Stooges villain. And I think that Jack Nicholson is like this goofy, sadistic killer that I can't stop watching. So it's like, it's, and like I find Superman super inconsistent, but I think the first 45, 50 minutes of that movie are just like breathtakingly well made and beautiful and super inconsistent, and has its ups and downs after that. Whereas I don't know that there's anything as far as just like the filmmaking of Batman of this Batman movie that has me being like, man, that's amazing. So it never to me, it never really comes close to those highs, but it's also like a lot more consistent across the board. So it's like there's almost no overlap in thought across either of these for me.
Yeah, I agree. I guess to kind of pivot a little bit, because I wanted to bring this up earlier. How did you guys feel about like a lot of the side characters? Like we already talked about like the one reporter guy, but like we have Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent.
I wanted more.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that. But then we also like Commissioner Gordon. We have Alfred. How did you guys feel about all of those portrayals? Because like I have some thoughts. So I'm with you. Billy D. Williams.
Let's do one character at a time, and all of us go on that character.
Okay, yeah. Let's start off with Harvey Dent as or with Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent. So I guess James, if you want to go ahead, because I saw you getting ready to say something.
To me, if this were the beginning of a franchise, I love their approach to Harvey in this movie, where like no heavy-handed foreshadowing going on. Like if you don't know the comics, if you don't know the character, you're like, he's just a lawyer. I love that. I like make him a Gotham mainstay before you have to go Two-Face with him. And Billy D. Williams is cool. He's just cool. He's got a cool voice. He
doesn't
looks
even have
cool.
to try, man. Yeah. It's like not even fair.
He naturally lends a presence to anything he's in. And so like whenever he's giving his line readings, you're like, yeah, this works. This is good. This is good. So I remember thinking at the end, I was like, dude, there's no like, hey Harvey, don't forget your lucky coin. Like there's nothing like that. They just let him be Harvey Dent, like start to finish. So as far as Harvey Dent goes, not a huge character, but I actually thought that was a really cool way to include him without having to do like wink, wink, nudge, nudge stuff about it.
Yeah,
I agree. I say I want more, but I just want more because he was so cool and like so good as Harvey Dent. But I like that approach too. Is he in the next movie at all?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen Batman Returns, so
he's actually only in this film.
Is there a Harvey Dent in the next one?
No.
Did they recast? Because that would be stupid.
So they recast in Batman Forever.
Yes, which I was reading up. Batman Forever is technically a sequel. It's actually got the same Commissioner Gordon
and the same Alfred.
Yeah, so it's like technically a sequel, almost in the way that like the Bond films are supposed to be in the same continuity.
You got the same M, but you got new actors and new
So I thought that was interesting, but yeah, like sadly he didn't come back. I think he just like signed on for one movie deal, but like he was interested in doing another one and it just like didn't happen.
Could you imagine Billy D as like
I know
I would
the charisma he could have brought, but like the torture.
You already know he would kill it in like the two-tone suit. Like
oh dude,
him holding like a Tommy gun too.
We were robbed.
We were robbed. Such a waste. That sucks.
But
yeah, I loved him in this movie. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. I think he could have been utilized more. I think honestly, like just the Gotham Police Department and like a lot of just like the crime stuff within Gotham, I feel like was really underutilized. And I just would have loved to see a little bit more of that, even if it wasn't like as like connected to the main plot. But like I think it also like ties back to like why I really don't like Joker being the one who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. I think that the most interesting Batman stories are where you have Gotham like going rampant with crime, but it's organized crime. It's these crime bosses. It's not like these crazy like characters like the Penguin, like the Joker, like Two-Face. You just have Falcone, like all of these like crime leaders like that who are just like these mob bosses.
Maroni.
Yeah.
I love the way Joker says that.
Yes. But like having these like smaller crime bosses, and then once Batman becomes Batman, that's when you get these like bigger villains. Like he's creating these villains inadvertently. So like I feel like I don't know, that just kind of undermined a lot of that. So like I don't know, I just wish we would have seen more of all of that stuff, because like Billy D. Williams had a fantastic presence in this film as always, and I really would have loved to see him as Harvey some more.
Before we move on to the next character, I was going to read a couple things that Curry said. He said, it is a sequel, just like Bond. Yep, Bruce and Harvey reference past events, and Bruce's penchant for killing comes up. And then he says, there's a Batman 89 comic follow-up that ignores Forever and mimics the art design of this, and it brings Billy D's likeness in as Harvey. I would like to read that. That sounds cool.
Same.
Even though, I'll just give a spoiler alert. I kind of love Batman Forever. But I do want to read that comic book now.
Remind me the villain of that. I know that's Val Kilmer, right?
Yeah, Jim Carrey, Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones, Two-Face.
Oh boy, I wonder how I'm gonna feel. That's gonna be interesting.
I'm not gonna lie, I think it's great. I don't know if we've now reached the cultural moment where people are like, hey, like what we were talking about with Creed at the top of the show, where people are like, hey, actually, I like this. I think there are more people coming around and be like, hey, Schumacher actually kind of cooked with those. And
yeah.
But
what's his name?
Not
Patrick
Batman.
H. Willems has made he's made a video on, I'm pretty sure on that film, but like he's also made a lot of videos always like referencing his work in Batman. So
I love that guy.
Yeah, same. What a guy.
Curry also said Tommy Lee Jones is awful, LOL, but I love Jim Carrey as Riddler. I love Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. I mean, it is not at all a performance of like a Two-Face that's like recognizable. He's basically trying to match Jim Carrey's energy. Like he's too zany and goofy. But like, can you ever think of Tommy Lee Jones being big and loud and zany and goofy? Like, this is your one opportunity to check this out, so it's worth it to me.
That sounds pretty fantastic.
All I know is that I'm very confused by your overall taste, I think, James. Because you are loving these goofy comic book things, but then whenever the MCU does something with humor in it, you're like, there's something about it.
So totally different. So totally different.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because with Batman, this movie is so internally consistent to me. Like, it is a comic book world. It creates this living comic book world where like this is what happens. And the MCU humor is just it is out of step with the tone that it wants to be outside of that. I have no issue with things being goofy if that's what like the DNA of its movie is, but like to me there's a difference between Joker pulling a 3-foot barrel gun out of his pants because just the movie has created a world through its art design and like production and everything saying like, no, this is what happens here, versus like Spider-Man telling us that Aunt May is actually super, super smart and capable and being like, since you're called Dr. Octopus, does that mean you drink salt water? Like, oh, so stupid.
It's a good impression.
It's exactly what she sounded like.
Oh, you're too hard on Aunt May there. Come on.
Michael.
You're too hard on her.
If this person was, we all know
she's making an awkward joke. She's not that dumb.
No, I think the movie is saying like that was a genuine question.
You're being ridiculous. That was not a genuine.
Yes,
Curry, back me up here.
No,
Aunt May was making a joke because
she wasn't making a joke.
She was uncomfortable,
and it also like in just to pick on this movie a little bit more because for some reason it's just what I like to do. Like I get the whole argument of like, well, at this point, like aliens have invaded and blah 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 and all this crazy stuff was like, yeah, but unless you're just there to see all of it in person every single time, like people should Curry, you don't know anything. Curry is agreeing with Michael, which only means they're both wrong. Like, people should still react to crazy things like they're crazy. Like whenever he helps that lady who's in charge of like admissions out of the car with Dr. Octopus, and like this crazy action sequence happens and she's just like, you should be ashamed of yourself, sir, and like steps out of frame. It was like a celebrity leaving frame in an SNL sketch. Like it just, or like
you're being way too hard.
No. Or whenever Andrew Garfield shows up and it's like, oh my gosh, a Spider-Man from a separate like reality. This is incredible. And the grandma's like, oh, ask him if he can clean the spider webs from the corner. Like
that was funny.
To me, that sounds like, hey, we've got Andrew Garfield. He's guesting for SNL. He's gonna do a Spider-Man skit. And wouldn't it be funny if like Spider-Man shows up, but instead of like being a superhero, people just ask him to go and do like menial things that they couldn't do? Like that sounds like a skit. No. But like you just saw a dude jump out of a portal from an alternate dimension, and you're like, can you ask him if he can clean those spider webs? Oh, stupid.
No.
Stupid.
If there's a problem in that scene, it's that Ned just so happened to pick up that power. Like that's the problem I have with it. Not I actually like the grandma there.
Boo.
Anyway, so Batman. It was nice to team up with Curry there for a second. That's fun.
Back to Batman. Love and Thunder sucks, by the way.
I think it's fun.
What were
Okay,
we talking about before?
We were talking about side characters.
Oh yeah.
Wow. What a tangent.
Don't know how that devolved into that. Okay, so what do you guys think about Commissioner Gordon? Because this is one that I actually like. I guess I'll go ahead real quick. I wasn't a fan of this Commissioner Gordon. Just something about his vibe. I don't know. He didn't like seem like, and again, I'm comparing it, but like when I think of Commissioner Gordon, I think of, just a very like optimistic like police officer who's trying to do his best, and yes, he's working with people that like
it's maybe like in spite of the people that he works with.
Yes, in spite of the people that he works with, in spite of all the corruption, in spite of how terrible of a state Gotham is in, he's always trying to do his best. So like I don't know, like just his vibe was kind of off for me. Like seeing him play poker at Bruce Wayne's party. Like, I'm not saying Gordon can't play poker, but like I don't know, it just I was not used to that, and I was like, this guy just does not give me Gordon vibes. So I don't know. I couldn't. That was one of those side characters that I just like could not buy.
Go ahead, James.
I was gonna. So, I guess it may be another scenario of like trying to like judge it based on where it came out in its time and what the expectations for Gordon were. Where again, I don't want to. I'm pretty sure, and I could be corrected, so I'm not saying I'm not saying this with certainty at all, but I think a lot of what we kind of come to think of Gordon comes from Batman Year One, which it was super celebrated and everything, but it was like still a pretty new story because that was in 1986, 87, I think when that was written.
Yeah.
And so that was only like 2 years old by the point they're writing the script, whereas like whatever Gordon was before that was like just what he was for decades.
Yeah.
What we think of Gordon was just kind of now getting off to its start. So I just think the expectations that what the movie expected us audience to think was probably different than what we go into it now. Like we go into it now being like, dude, Gordon is legit. He's got his mustache and glasses. He's awesome. He's either Gary Oldman or Jeffrey Wright or somebody awesome.
Yeah.
And I think at 1989, they're like, Gordon's just he's a commissioner. He's like just the name we give to the commissioner. Like, and if you watch like Batman, the Adam West Batman, like the series and the movie, he's actually a lot more in line with this Gordon, where he's just no glasses, no mustache. He's just kind of there to chill out and give exposition about like this is what's going on with the newest crime. So I can't really hold it against the movie. I mean, that being said, like I thought his presence was fine. It's kind of whatever, obviously I much prefer what the character has kind of gone on to become.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I think it's hard to not. It's hard for me to watch this and not think about Jeffrey Wright or
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. I mean,
a couple of actors back.
I mean, those two guys ooze not only like a charisma to them personally, but there's also just like a goodness that they just kind of ooze, kind of like not to go back to the MCU, but kind of like Chadwick Boseman did with Black Panther. There's like a regalness almost to it.
Like whatever this person is doing is probably morally right.
Yes. Yeah. I trust this guy here, and I don't trust anyone else.
Yeah.
And I just, because I've seen those, I mean, I've grown up with those. I haven't grown up with this. And so to see, excuse me, I'm wheezing. But to see this Gordon as just kind of, honestly, he seems like a bit incapable, and the whole force seems pretty stupid to me. So I don't love that. It definitely felt weird. Also, just as an actor, I thought that he was a weird choice, just vibe wise. So no, I'm with you guys. Didn't care for him. One little fact, you guys probably know this, but I was just looking at Commissioner Gordon actors. Do you know who voices Commissioner Gordon in the animated film adaptation of The Killing Joke?
Oh, hold on. I did know this.
I can't remember.
Who is it?
Ray Wise.
Yes, yeah. And so I've been watching DC animation. Ray Wise is Perry White in
I saw that too.
Really?
Yeah, and Kyle MacLachlan is Superman in Justice League New Frontier.
That's perfect.
Perfect. Lucy is the desk clerk for the Mad Hatter in the animated series. I'm like,
how funny!
This is awesome.
That's great. Love
DC's
seeing Twin Peaks people popping up everywhere after I finally see the series.
You know who's Gordon in Batman Year One is Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad. No, he's Gordon in Arkham Knight. That's he is Mike Ehrmantraut, like the Gus Fring's right hand man.
Oh, dude, that guy's great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's sick.
But yeah, those are my main thoughts on him.
Yeah. No, yeah, like I do understand, like it is hard for me, like, because we have so many iconic Gordons to not compare. And I haven't like done too much like research on like Silver Age Gordon, so I'm not like super familiar. But as much as I know of the character, I mean, like he's still like kind of, that morally like good like police commissioner, from what I know of. So yeah, but
what I am seeing is I'm seeing this pattern with Batman in particular. I do kind of feel like, and this isn't just like, Batman is just always better when it's darker and grittier or whatever. That's not where I'm going here. But I do think we have grown up in an era where I feel like Batman just got objectively better in so many ways. Like, so many of these side characters are so much deeper. Bruce Wayne is deeper as a character in so
Let me
many
tell
of these
you about
other
that.
things. I mean, just since
1986, Crisis on
like, I just think, there was obviously, when comic book movies were just starting to come around with Superman movies and Batman and all this stuff back then, obviously they were of their time and they were groundbreaking, and we love them for what we love and appreciate them for what they are and what they meant. But I do kind of feel like there's just so many aspects of this series that seems to have just gotten so much deeper and richer as time has gone on. I think we're just lucky to be living in an era with, like, gosh, we live in an era where we have gotten, over the last 20 years, the Christopher Nolan trilogy, Batman vs Superman Ultimate Cut, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the Batman, and then not to mention all of the animated stuff that you guys love so much. And I've seen Mask of the Phantasm; it's amazing, but I haven't seen the rest of it. But I just think we live in a pretty good time to be a Batman fan. And I just wanted to say that it just feels like we really grew up in the ultimate Batman time.
For sure. And what's fun is, Batman the Animated Series is what it is because of the Tim Burton movies. So I have to be grateful for that. But I love what he went on to be in the animated series so much. Animated series is Goat Bruce. Like, that is to me my new favorite Bruce, where he's not douchey. He seems pretty capable. He seems smart enough, but he doesn't overplay his hand and show how much he knows, but he's super affable and charming, he's just got such a good vibe. He's so unassuming, but he's really funny and fun. That is the best Bruce Wayne to me.
I do kind of like the Bale Bruce, where he's they should. I own the place.
Yeah. Guy who dresses like a bat clearly has issues.
I love all of that stuff with him. I think it's great. And then he, all of his walls break down as soon as he sees Rachel.
It's not me. It's not.
I am more.
Yeah.
So
it's
good.
It's not who you are underneath, Bruce. It's what you
do that defines you.
Oh man,
it begins.
Why do we fall, Bruce?
Dude, he is, man. That Thomas Wayne is the best.
That's my favorite Thomas Wayne.
Same.
He's so good. I love him. I want to be his friend.
Okay, man. I really, I don't want to keep getting on side tangents, but let me tell you, that is my favorite Thomas Wayne, and. Okay, I am all for doing different things. I mean, we've talked about, there's a rich history of Batman, and there's a lot of different ways to do Batman. And I really like a lot with what they did in the Batman. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really interesting and different approach. It's different than what we got in Snyder's universe. It's different what we got in Nolan's, but I prefer and I love when the Waynes don't have this deep dark secret in their backstory. And I think the reason why is because they are the exception to the rule when it comes to billionaires. They are the ones who are actually philanthropists, who are actually holding good values and ideals and helping the community. And that's why I love what Nolan did in Batman Begins. Thomas Wayne is doing everything that he can to help the city. That goes hard. I love that. And it also reinforces who Bruce Wayne is as a character, who he is as Batman. And I think that it makes
freaking movie, dude.
Seriously. and I think it makes the moral struggle that Bruce Wayne has in Batman Begins hit so much harder when he's like, I have this perfect standard that I should be holding of the legacy of my family, but I can't do it because they were taken from me. And like when he almost breaks and tries to kill Chill, like that hits so much harder because you have like this whole thing established that like Thomas and Martha were just good people.
Yeah. Frick, dude. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, that movie is so good. Holy
It's
cow.
so good.
I just rewatched it. I gotta watch it again.
I love the Batman. Honestly, it's a 5-star movie for me. I think it's incredible.
It is for me too. It was a 4.5 for my first few watches, but
yeah, I bumped it up, I think, on my second watch. But I do agree. If there is one thing about it, and honestly, in the context of the movie, I really don't mind. This isn't like a negative in that movie by itself.
Not at all.
But I do, if you're asking me, do you prefer the Waynes to be, to have this like deep, dark, secret filled past and Bruce finding out about it? Or do you prefer what Batman Begins does? I prefer that. I think it's the thematic things that it adds to Batman Begins. It makes it so much stronger. And just like, I don't know, just having the random like thoughts through the movie, we see the memories that Bruce has with his dad of, riding the train with his dad, or just talking with his dad, like, why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. And like,
still haven't given up on me, Alfred.
Yeah, never. All those push-ups and you can't even lift a bloody log. and then only like them being so good only adds to
the tragedy that it was a random.
It adds to the tragedy, and it also just makes me love Alfred that much more. And Alfred's lovable anyway, but like knowing, like I get why he stands by the Waynes even after they're gone, because they were amazing people, and to like, I don't know, it all just works so much better when it's that way. So I agree. I do agree with that. We should bring all this back up when we talk about Batman Begins one day.
Dude, that movie, like on this rewatch, I ended up bumping it up to 4.5 stars because
oh shoot, you had it lower?
I had it at 4. I mean, like, I still loved it, but like I hadn't watched it in a long while. But like, man, it is almost a perfect Batman movie for me.
It's my second favorite Batman movie still.
I love, man, everything just hits so hard. The pacing of it is like lightning.
It perfected like how to tell an origin.
Yeah, it did.
Absolutely perfected.
Yes.
Protection. I don't need protection.
Protection for them.
and like, man, I love when he's training with Ra's al Ghul. The fight scene when they're on the ice, and
the
like
twat.
And he's agitating Bruce to like get him to like be stronger, and he's like, your father was weak, and like, and the score,
the scene.
Oh my gosh, the score in that scene
it's so good. The scene where they're in the building instead of on the ice, but where they're in the building and he's having to go through this like final step, and he takes the whatever makes him see. I can't remember what it's called, but that makes him hallucinate or whatever. And where like he's going through and like cutting the arms of everybody to make them all look the same. That scene is so freaking cool visually. It's
And
It's so good.
I love Bruce's like just intellect whenever he's having to like walk through like just like the aisle of all the different ninjas, and Ra's al Ghul is like, trying to attack him, and he gets cut in the arm.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, he starts like cutting the other guys. Like,
That's what I just said.
wait, did you?
Yeah,
I think I just like kind of zoned out.
Wow, good to know you love what I have to say.
I have to say it. That's the only way that matters.
No, I love that scene so much. And then like, I don't know, that build, we talked about it when we talked about on His Majesty's Secret Service, but that building looks so similar to the building on His Majesty's Secret Service. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I feel like between that and Inception.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Both of those buildings really feel very, very similar. But anyway. So Batman 89.
Alfred, I think was the last one that was brought up.
Love this Alfred.
Yeah. He doesn't have a whole lot of scenes, but Curry made one point. Okay, I'll say the one thing I don't like is he makes the executive decision to let Vicky Vale in and reveal his identity. The movie makes such a little to do about that.
Yeah,
I feel like it's weird. Such a huge overstepping of bounds for Alfred. I did not like that. But I will say, just in terms of his presence, he just comes across as the most like kindly, well-meaning, like kind-hearted, like grandfather type person ever. Like I think it's Michael Goff is how you pronounce it. You're just like, this guy's just great. He's just pleasant. He's nice, and like that scene where he's like, I've embarrassed him enough, and now I'm going to go. Like he's just like,
yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
those eyebrows too.
Oof. Oh yeah, he's Alfred for 4 movies, so you get
good.
That's awesome.
That's great. I'm happy about that because I think I don't think there's ever been a Joker that I've seen that I disliked. I think they've all been pretty freaking great. But he was right up there with any of them. I mean,
you mean Alfred?
What did I say?
You said Joker.
I was like, whoa.
Same there, I guess.
No, that's a plot twist.
Well, I haven't seen the Justice League, so the that one. But no, I meant Alfred, my bad. This one stood up to my favorites. I still think Michael Caine is my favorite.
Michael Caine
is my favorite, and it's going to be hard to top. But yeah, I think he was wonderful.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I think he's kind of there with Harvey Dent for me, where like I wanted to see more of Alfred. Because every single time he's on the screen, I really enjoyed his presence. And he was one of the characters where I was like, him and the Joker were like the 2 characters where I was like, these are the characters that we know and love. So I don't know, like I couldn't be like, oh, this guy isn't Michael Caine, because like he was still like super awesome in this. But I really wish we could have gotten more screen time with him.
Well, you got more in the future if we keep watching,
Yes. Honestly, whenever we finish streaming, I'm probably gonna start Batman Returns.
Maybe I will too, or maybe I'm just gonna skip to Batman Begins because frick, dude, I want to watch it so bad. Curry says, okay, pop back in after watching on all my channels for a bit and leaving a like. Thanks for that, buddy. But in Returns, Keaton snaps at Alfred for letting Vale in the Batcave, so they at least acknowledge it later.
Nice.
Interesting.
Good. Because that was just a big thing. Like, whoa. That just happened.
Like I
and
feel like
everybody is so nonchalant about it in the scene.
yeah, that's like the thing. Alfred does tend to do things that like he knows are good for Bruce, even if it's sometimes overstepping bounds. But usually Bruce yells at him for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just let it happen this time. It was weird.
Yeah. I guess. Do we want to like? Do you guys have like any like kind of final thoughts? Do you think that we can get to like a good wrapping up point now?
I don't really have any other thoughts. I like it. I appreciate it for what it is and for what it has done. I can't wait to get to later ones. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
I was gonna say I feel similar. I like it. I'm interested in watching Returns because I generally hear that that Returns. I know a lot of people who actually prefer Returns. Curry made it clear he does not like Returns as much as this one, but I don't really know. That's another one that I've seen bits and pieces of, and I honestly don't know what to expect and whether I'm thinking I'm gonna like it more or less. But I'm ready to get to Batman Forever whenever down the road we might watch that one, because I think that it kind of rules. So
I'm excited for it too. I really am, because I think like just between you really liking it and then also Patrick H. Willems' videos where he talks about it and just like kind of seeing like a resurgence of people like really enjoying it, I'm like, maybe they were cooking. Like I haven't seen it yet.
People weren't ready.
Yeah.
Is that Bat Nipples or is that Batman and Robin?
Oh, it's
that's Clooney, right?
Yeah.
So that's Batman and Robin.
It's similar. Well, so I think, but man, I don't know that the suits are all that different. I know they are different. I know they get a lot of flack. I actually kind of love all the suits in both of the Schumacher movies as well. But
oh man, you like the Bat Nipples, huh?
Well, I don't love the Bat Nipples themselves per se.
I don't know. You like the assless chaps and Bat Nipples,
dude. The assless chaps are the only way. So,
anyways,
that's actually
I
what
like
Batman needs.
But I did like it, and I liked a lot about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pumped to watch it. I guess. Yeah, I did really enjoy this movie, and like I absolutely can see myself like going back to it. I guess like one little final thing that I wanted to touch on real quick. People need to apologize to Zack Snyder, and I'm not saying this as like
my gosh, yes.
I'm not saying this as a Snyder fanboy, even though I do love Man of Steel and I do love Batman v Superman. And I also
you and I are both. We got plenty of Snyder stuff we don't love.
Oh yeah, we do. We can talk about that another time. But Batman kills people in this movie. He drops a freaking bomb in the factory and blows like 50 people up. Like,
drops the one dude from like the 8-story bell tower.
Yeah, and he also kills the Joker.
Yeah. I thought I've always thought the stuff, the criticism of people getting on Batman for killing in that movie. I'm like, have y'all never like seen, even in the movies in the past he's done? Yeah. I know the Nolan movie made a bigger deal of it, of it being his rule.
He does, like, I mean, he does have in the comics, even before days, like he's always had like a pretty strict no killing rule.
But if the situation calls for it, he still does, right? Like,
not in the comics.
Never in the comics?
Not that I know of.
Not in most of them. I mean, so
it's really just the movies then.
The comic that Batman v Superman is based on, he kills. but there's like a context to that. But yeah, like usually he has like a no kill rule.
And at least the thing is, at least in BVS, like it feel like if my choice is between Batman 89, where he kills as if it's part of the job, whatever. Like and this is Batman in my prime. I take what BVS is way over that, because it's not just like this Batman in my prime is part of the job. It's like he stopped caring, and he's not like going out of his way to kill people. Like, because the big thing they point to is like the Batmobile chase, and it's like, it's not that he's like, oh, I'm after that guy, I'm going to kill him. It's like, I'm driving, dude. If you're not blowing your car out, whatever, I'm smashing straight through it. All right. Like, I do not have time for you. I've been doing this for 30 effing years. I don't have freaking time for you anymore. And like, just using that to show just the moral state he's in is way more compelling than like, I'm going to throw this guy off a bell tower because it's what I do, because I'm Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wanted to mention that because like I wasn't a fan of the Joker's death at the end.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I was like, wait, did I see that right? It threw me off guard, and I don't know, like I just didn't
like
sit
a giant
right
trampoline on the ground. I'm so.
I thought no.
For the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline.
You know, pal, you could have told me that before I set it up. He's back up.
I really thought there was gonna be something at the end where he just starts like laughing and like he's still alive, but no, he's gone.
He's gone.
So yeah, I don't like, and that I think was like the final nail in the coffin of this being emotionally absent for me, because it's like, oh well, he did get his revenge.
Yeah, and like the movie made nothing about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't a thing where it was like an accident, because I mean,
well, the first time, like he literally punches him off the balcony, and he had no idea that he was going to catch himself. So he was out for blood from the beginning.
Yeah. So I don't know. I other than the criticisms that I have with it, like I do really enjoy it, and I think from, like we said before, tonally, and in terms of storytelling, it feels a lot more consistent than Superman, but I think I prefer Superman a little bit.
Yeah, I prefer, even though like I just roll my eyes at all the Lex stuff. I mean, and I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I'm under Christopher Reeve's spell that entire movie. Like anytime he's on talking, walking around, doing anything, I'm just like, oh, what a guy.
And I am under Kim Basinger's spell.
Hey, I get that. But like, I think Superman's just a more pleasant watch to me. I just had a little bit more fun with Superman than I did with this one.
Yeah. And I think for me, as a total experience, I had more fun with this one because, man, I'm getting really sensitive because of all those Bond movies I'm way behind on the Bond stuff, but like second act slog fests are really tough for me, man. Like I watch movies at night for the most part, and when it is a slow second act, I start to fade, and like, and so like this one didn't have that.
Me that the mid movie like flying like spoken word poetry that Lois was doing wasn't like,
oh no, there was really good stuff in there. I'm just saying that second act.
Wait, is that the really good stuff to you?
No, there was even that was fine. Like, I'm just saying, not the whole act sucked. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying that was not good to me.
Okay.
There was nobody else in the room, and I felt like embarrassed.
Oh, are you talking where she's voicing it over?
Yeah, she's
okay.
like,
okay, yeah.
So high. In my mind, I'm hearing Kit from Napoleon Dynamite flying oh so high in the sky.
Oh man,
that's so funny. Yeah, dude. Okay, yeah. Now that I'm with you, that was rough. But the this one didn't have that issue. I did have to stop in the middle of it last night, but it wasn't because of the second act being boring. It was just because I had to. But I really did. I thought it was a more cohesive movie all the way through. But I do agree with you guys. The first act of Superman is just like, it's so good. And this didn't have anything near that. So I don't know how to rate these against each other. It's actually really tough. But I do prefer style-wise Superman strictly because it's not Tim Burton. And that whole Americana vibe as well. It's just better. But
those Kansas vibe, just the sunset over the oh man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Need me a Lee Isaac Chung Superman movie.
Oh, dude.
Frick, dude. That would be sick.
Do for Kansas what you did for Arkansas.
Yes.
You mean in Twisters?
No, I mean in Minari.
I know.
Oh.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
Well,
he's got Glenn Powell's sweat already.
That's true. Glenn Powell's character is from is a YouTuber from Arkansas. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Your favorite YouTuber, right?
Yeah. If you can feel it.
Chase it.
Oh man. All right. Well, thanks for everyone who tuned in. We had a lot of good engagement in the comments again, so that was really fun.
Yeah.
For all of you listening on the podcast feed, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We just hit 50 subscribers last week, so that's pretty awesome. And we've been getting a lot of good views and engagement on our live streams, and then the music fodder, like piano covers that Michael has been doing. So
he's got one for the Batman theme. So
yeah,
yep, it's on there. Yep. I combined all the themes.
We've got it. We've got it releasing real soon, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go support your local theaters, and hey, you can do so by watching The Brutalist, because that's got a wide release now. So if it's at your theater,
might do that this weekend.
I'm definitely gonna see it next week, so I'm pumped.
I'm so ready to see this. Let the AI sweep over me. I'm just kidding.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.